Hello to everyone watching at home. You're with Adelaide Eternal and we're bringing you our monthly tournaments. This one is Legacy and it's the final round, round number 6. You're here with Sarven McLinton in the booth with Beckett, Wolfe.
G'day, guys.
So we have two players here. We have Simon Hall on the right, whom you've seen in earlier matches on a Vial-smasher Delver list, which is really unique and awesome. And then we have Paul Young on the left, who is on Burn, and it's a really tight list. Let's have a look at that one first.
Tight. It is. All 4 ofs, except for a 1 of Sulfuric Vortex and a 20 of Mountain.
So when you look at this list, it's unlike normal magic. Unlike normal magic. Burn is normal magic. Unlike normal legacy lists that you see, this can actually fit on, like 10 lines. It's great. A bunch of 4 ofs. I love it.
Yeah, it's really easy for us. So thanks for Paul for that, making our job easy.
Yeah.
Look, you've got it's very similar to a modern Burn list, except you get upgrades on Chain Lightning, which is like bad Lightning Bolt, but Lightning Bolt's really, really good. And you get 4 Price of Progress and 4 Flame Rift and 4 Fire Blast. And I think those
are the key cards that make this better than modern.
I would say Price of Progress and Fire Blast are the big ones, because Fire Blast is a fair card, but when you're playing against Burn, you are definitely low. And when you have to plan your outs and think, oh, well, what do I lose to? Can I survive another turn? You always think, well, I lose to Fire Blast. Yeah. So many times you're playing against Burn, and you're like, can I get away with one more turn? Oh, well, not if they have Fire Blast. And it changes, and it might be wrong, but it changes how you play, and it's really, really relevant. Fire Blast is, for those who don't know, 0 mana, does 4 damage, but you have to sacrifice 2 mountains. So
incidentally, although you pay 0 mana, it actually costs 6, so you don't trigger your own idol onto the Great Revel. Very relevant.
Well, there you go.
So, and obviously, talking about that powerful card, Fire Blast, we actually have another Fire Blast deck, technically. Because, yeah, Simon Hall is on the Vial-smasher Delver brew, and this involves Fire Blasts, because if you haven't seen it before, Vial-smasher, the goblin guy, the angry
goblin.
he on the first spell that you cast on a turn, he basically deals damage equal to the casting cost of that spell. So you can just imagine casting Vial-smasher the Fierce, passing the turn, Force of Willing whatever they play to deal them 5 damage, going to your turn and fire blasting them for 4 damage, but also 6 more damage off the casting cost of Fire Blast. So it's a really sweet deck. If you haven't seen it in action, check it out in one of the previous videos. You'll love it.
Yeah, we've gone into a bit more detail about it there as well, so check that out. Let's get down to the game, Sav.
Brilliant. So, depending on who is on the play, we're going to see a couple of different things, but if you're Burn, Paul really wants to see turn 1, Goblin Guide, turn 2, Eidolon of the Great Revel, turn 3, Prophet. Not Prophet of Kruvix, but Prophet in capital letters.
Oh, Prophet with an F.
Yes.
Look, this is actually such an interesting match, because I'm just loving the Fire Blast, because Legacy is so intricate with, dazes and wastelands and, or do I bolt the Delver or the Shaman and all that. And, this game has that potential, but it's also got the potential to just be like, oh, bolt your face. Well, I'll Fire Blast your face. Well, I'll Fire Blast your face and swing my guy for 3.
And in response to your bolt, I'll bolt you. Like, these are things that can happen. It's just really exciting that the game could go very long, or it could be very, very short.
Yeah. Who do you favour, by the way?
I favour Paul here. As much as I love decks with Brainstorm, I believe that Force of Will being somewhat of a liability, because you really need to use it to counter Eidolon of the Great Revel or some other really powerful threat, losing you life at the same time and losing your cards, so it's very hard for you to draw back into the game, because the Burn deck is just going, well, I'm just burning your face.
I do too, mate. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a combo to just quick win. He doesn't have a great sideboard. We can get into that later, but he doesn't also have a lot of main board. Okay, once I land this, I'm good. I stabilize. He doesn't have any stabilizing cards, like True Name Nemesis on turn 2. Even that could just...
You sometimes just lose because they just burn your face. So this is a hand of 4 Force of Will with the ugly art. I assume that he's keeping out of necessity, but obviously is not happy with that.
Yeah, the Forces... What do you think about Force of Will versus Burn? Because
It's a necessity, but it's bad.
Yeah. It doesn't feel good because the quality of Burn's cards are so low, obviously because they're cheap. I don't mean that the card's bad. I just mean they're cheap cards and, their impact is minor individually. But at the same time, when you're playing against burn, you have such little interaction and you just want to be able to stabilize no matter what. Because, obviously they're not playing any kind of value. So any interaction you can have to prevent it is good. But yeah, it's this weird sort of, the two just totally polar opposites. One, in one sense, Force of Will is terrible against the Lightning Bolt, and in another sense, because you still got to pay a life as well. Jeez, it's gain 2 life, right? Force of Will is just gain 2 life.
Yeah.
But in the other sense, anything that you can do to help. So it's really interesting. I think you're absolutely right. You do have to keep them in. You do have to have them, but
you'd rather have
yuck.
You'd rather have a turn 1 daze to daze something nasty that they have. But
rather have
at the end
healing
of the day,
salve.
Yeah, daze can't even do anything when you don't have any lands because Simon is on a 0 lander here. And
I missed that.
4 Force of Will 0 lander. He wasn't happy about the hand, but he kept it because he knows that if he can just Force of Will and Idle on the Great Revel, then so this is awkward. Having to Force of Will to basically gain 3 life and lose 2 cards is not ideal.
The issue with Simon's hand, and I don't want to criticize him too much because I didn't get a look, and going down to 5 is ugly.
Yeah, he did mull.
But the issue is you can't assume that Burn will just dump its hand.
Yes.
Because if it gets just a single one of the creatures in the sense of the Eidolon or the Monastery or the Goblin Guide, then it can just do consistent damage, and you can't just hope that... I mean, in this case, Paul's just had a bunch of sorcery speed, and this has been
he hasn't had an Idol on the Great
He hasn't
Revel.
had a creature, but if any one of those was a creature, then suddenly Simon actually has to do something. He can't just wait until Paul loses his hand.
Well, this is the last card in his hand. This is Flame Rift. So he's basically gaining 3 life here with the pitch to force.
I mean, that was ideal for Simon. How fast was that from Paul? But yeah, again, if any one of those was creature, I think Simon was pretty...
Well, he was priced into countering the creature if there was one.
Well, he's not losing the price of progress anytime soon, is he?
I actually believe that Simon mulled into a no-lander because he's like, this is the way to play around price of progress. No, we're joking.
Well,
but there's the land.
Price of progress certainly doesn't hurt Paul at all.
Yeah,
He's running...
and this is beautiful. Having a Deathrite Shaman is good. If he can get a green source on his next draw...
Well, no creatures though, so...
Yeah,
not
this
a
is
single
a good point.
creature.
Not a single creature in the graveyard.
Well, there's one.
Here's Goblin Guide.
Yes, another gobbo.
I mean, if the ideal here is... if that was a land... and he drew the land, and he played land and played Vial-smasher to block a 2/2. He would have stabilized really nicely. But unfortunately, this is going to be a very bad spot for Simon.
So you have to take the 2 here. Simon doesn't like taking 2, but you have to take it.
Have to.
And then play Delver, and then
but
double
there's no
block,
lands
right?
in the graveyard. Because there's no fetch lands in the burn deck, because this is a burn with 20 mountain deck.
Well, you still take it, and then you play Delver and double block, and...
Yeah.
Gobbo has to kill one of them.
Gobbo kills one of them, but not 2.
Yeah.
If this is Idle on the Great Rebel, it's GG's.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Fire Blast.
That'll probably do it.
Oh no, Force of Will again.
And look, I think that's fine.
Yeah, he has to. Well,
I think it's fine to go for the Fire Blast because Simon's already shown a couple of forces, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a possibility of untapping in your next turn so that you... Oh no, he floated mana anyway for days, so it's okay.
Paul just has to untap and cast any one of his 1 mana spells that deal 3 damage. Bolt, Roof Bolt.
This is rough.
Lava Spike, Chain Lightning. It's going to be pretty easy for him to find it out.
Well, here's a Delver with an active fetch ready to shuffle away whatever he looks at.
I think it's actually a
bit of
Wasteland.
Oh, it's not a fetch. It's one of those expedition
Those
things.
Wastelands
Here it is. Oh, what?
What is that?
It's
one of those red spells.
It's a red spell with a hollow at
the
the bottom.
A Goblin Guide?
Monastery. Oh, it's a new Goblin Guide.
I think it's a new Goblin Guide. Paul,
Okay.
what are you doing, mate? You're making our lives tough. Both of you guys. Come on.
Okay, so here he's going to go to 1. And you have to choose which thing you kill. So obviously kill Deathrite Shaman.
Well, there's something to be said for killing Delver. Because if he kills...
Fastest clock. Oh, Lightning
Oi,
Bolt.
here we
Yes, yeah, here we go. So he actually had the lands because of the Fire Blast putting lands in the graveyard. Relevant.
Right, yes. He was able to eat it to get his red
stabilized. Well,
Okay.
not really stabilized. When you're on 3, you're not stabilized.
Right, but he's got
it's
a
better
Delver.
than... Yep.
You know, Paul's only got like 1 billion outs in his deck. It's fine.
Let's see what happens. He's playing it well though, Simon. He's really got, the right blocks and the right bolting down. Now,
dear. So this is tense for both of them,
yeah,
right?
it's very tense. It's a nail biter.
Okay,
but remember, there's two
active-
goblin guides in the graveyard.
an active shaman.
Death right.
Is it better to? I think it's better to fetch right now and
Yes.
gain the life.
So you don't die to an instant speed.
That's right.
burn.
Because you feel like, oh well, I
End of
could,
turn, I'll
I
do
could
it.
end
No,
of
you won't.
turn it, but it doesn't make sense because
Ooh,
okay.
Monastery Swift Spear. Well, 1/2 block. Yep. Seems fine.
Yeah, I think you definitely fetch end of turn here and eat a gobbo.
There's a point of like not attacking with a Swift Spear because then the 1/2 can block an unflipped Delver.
That's very true. Yeah.
Here we go. Time to stabilize.
But-
getting the green source ready to gain.
I think Simon definitely should have fetched in his main
Yes,
phase and done
100%.
it because
Because a burn player with an instant speed, say Lightning Bolt in hand, doesn't cast it. Just
they're
pass
not.
turn.
Yeah, they're not going to do it main phase.
Yeah,
they're going to
wait
wait
for-
until they've got 2 or 3 burn spells, and then when you can't in response.
Not a green source. Is there no green source in the deck? There has to be a
Sure.
green
There's
source.
definitely a trop, but
Yes.
that's a Bloodstained Mire.
Bloodstained
so we can't
Mire. Oh,
search for the
no.
trop.
Oh no.
So maybe that's why he didn't. That'll probably explain it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And yet there's 1 trop and that's it. So
Oh, this is close.
maybe he needs a bad Bayou or something.
Yeah, it all depends on how his deck's constructed. He probably wants Trop because he's got 4 days, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But maybe he wants another green source. Is there any other green?
He's got
It's
3
only
days,
it's
3
only
days.
green for Shaman though.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah, 3 days. So yeah, you want Trop.
Oh well, that's unfortunate for
It's
Simon.
very unfortunate. If that was a different fetch land, he would have stabilized
That's
here.
right.
Gone up to 4, then
That's
gone up to
right.
6 because there's 2 gobbos in the graveyard.
Well, apologies to Simon for criticising that last play.
Well, we were just talking.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Now this is a very nice blocker.
We get a game. I'm still liking Paul's position.
Oh
but
yeah.
we've got a game.
Is it Eidolon?
Eidolon will.
Fire
Okay,
blast.
that'll
Yep.
hurt.
Yep. GG's. That was a real nail biter. So, as I said before, yes, the burn deck has that ability to just not fluff around with brainstorms, just try and go to your face. And the issue was, as much as Simon did have a pretty bad mull there, he had to end up going down to 4 Force of Will and 1 card, and not a land. The burn deck didn't actually even get a great draw. It was just a bunch of burn. He didn't go, say, turn 1 Goblin Guide, turn 2 Eidolon the Great Revel. That is a good draw for burn.
Yeah, burn sees 2 lands and a bunch of spells, and it's happy. But what it really, really wants is consistent damage.
Yeah, and Rift Bolt turn 1 suspended is always a sign that they've got a bad hand.
Yeah, that's right. You want the Gobbo or the Monastery. You really only need 1.
Yeah.
You don't need any of them, but you
Ideally,
definitely want some form of consistent damage, and that way he's forced into forcing that, and he has to kill that. And once you get to top deck mode like they did, which often happens against burn, because you spend a lot of resources trying to stabilize, it just pecks in there for 1 or 2, and you're on such low life that it makes the difference.
Yeah. So how do you think this change is going to sideboard? Obviously, in burn, you don't have that much to really come in this matchup because this is actually a decent matchup for you. You don't really mind about fluffing around with pyroblasts and that kind of stuff. You just want to just burn their face.
There's nothing to smash. There's nothing to pyro. Volcanic Fallout doesn't hit True Nemesis. It doesn't hit Vial-smasher. It only hits Delvers and Shamans, which might be good, but I think you just want to stay fast.
Yeah, I mean, you can do something like take out 1 or 2 Flame Rifts and put in Pyrostatic Pillar just as an additional threat against Delver decks, because basically Delver decks, everything they cast will be triggering Pyrostatic Pillar. But, it's neither here nor there. Obviously the weakest spell in his deck is either the Flame Rift or the Rift Bolt / Lava Spike.
Yeah.
So whenever you bring something in, you're going, well, do I want to take out 3 consistent 3 to the face, or do I want to put in this Pyrostatic Pillar, which might do 4?
Simon also doesn't have a lot to put in. He doesn't really like Wastelands, I don't think. But I mean, like, Unearth is really bad as well, because it's not like, yes, your guy might get bolted, but the best you're really going to do is unearth a Deathrite Shaman so that you can start gaining life again. But that's pretty slow.
Yeah.
I think maybe
I'm pretty sure
Flusterstorm for
his sideboard is basically horrible in this in this matchup. Flusterstorm's the only thing really that is a legitimate bring in, And even then, it's not that good. It's basically if you read Flusterstorm and it says gain 3 life, that's what it says.
Yeah, but it might.
One blue,
it
gain
might.
3
No,
life.
I mean, there's a really good chance that you just have Flusterstorm when
Flusterstorm
polls-
for the price of progress. That's really where you want
It's
to be.
really good, but there might be a situation where Paul can pay for that.
Yeah, and then there's also times where basically he can always pay for Fire Blast because he'll be floating mana.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, but Flusterstorm, sometimes if you bring in 2 of them, they sometimes just sit in your hand and you go, well, I don't have any. I have never had the opportunity to actually cast this because I've had to deploy Delver turn 1 and do something else on turn 2. But you do bring them in and you take out Wasteland. That's a guarantee.
Definitely, and the burn matchups in pretty much every format are like their game 1, and they don't like their game 2 because they usually get blown out by some sideboard card that respects burn. But
he's bringing in Cave In. It's possible that the Cave In will kill two Goblin Guides. That's the kind of thing, or kills an Eidolon the Great Rebel and a Goblin Guide without triggering Eidolon the Great Rebel's 2 damage.
That's very relevant. Yeah.
So, but usually burn decks capitalize off this, which is in pretty much every format. Your sideboard is basically doesn't really have anything great to bring in against burn unless you've had the soul read on the format for that particular tournament and knew there'd be a lot of burn, and you brought in very niche, really good anti-burn cards like Core Firewalker.
I don't see burn a lot, but I find it always does well.
Yes.
And it's such a metagame choice, I think. And
all because of the sideboards.
Paul's done really, really well today. This is at this stage, I think what are they? Paul's only lost 1.
Yeah, I don't even think he's lost one game, one match the whole day. So he's on 4-1, I believe, going into this. Yeah. And it just goes to show that as much as people say Legacy is an expensive format, this burn deck, you could probably build it for $100 or ish. Roughly about $100.
I'm having a look now, and I can't think. Goblin Guide's
about 25.
Does
30.
it cost any more than the modern version? I don't think so.
This is probably even cheaper than the modern version because you don't need fetch lands.
Fetches, yeah.
So it just goes to show you can play a budget deck and you can go 4-1 and just destroy a tournament. And the second place prize today was a Tiger, and a first place prize was another Duel land. Oh, here we go. So, Goblin Guide on turn 1. This is exactly where you want to be.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think I was saying before, burn usually gets a lot worse post sideboard, but yeah, I'm really, really liking Paul's position here.
Absolutely.
Mind you, they've both had good starts. Turn 1 Deathrite Shaman versus turn 1 Goblin Guide. What it's going to come down to is, does Deathrite Shaman have creatures that he can eat? Now, Simon doesn't have green, and he needs a kill spell. Like, these Shamans are really good versus burn because they basically the only life game, but you need creatures in the bin.
Yeah, that's right. Here, they're basically gonna double team that Goblin, and
then get blown out by a lightning bolt on a Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. Just imagine that. Here we go. Double team.
Basically, burn always hits the face, right? It's almost always correct to hit the face when you're umming and erring. Do I hit the creature or do I hit the face? You hit the face if you're not sure. But in that case I reckon I probably would hit the creature.
Yeah, you take it. And Simon's obviously in the position where he just has to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, you bash in. I mean,
but when your opponent's on one mountain and a whole handful of cards, you're like, well, if he's got a lightning bolt.
Do you think there's a scenario where Paul doesn't swing and he does wait for that blowout?
Yeah, I mean, there's a scenario where you tap that one, you chain lightning one of the Deathrites pre-combat, and then you bash, because that way you're actually dealing 2 to the face. It's a chain lightning that says 2 to your face and kill one of your creatures.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yep. And keep your Goblin Guide.
Did he have chain lightning in hand?
I don't know, but it's the play I would have made in that situation.
To be fair to Paul, he could be playing around, if he had the second Deathrite Shaman. Oh, no. My mistake, because there's not enough fetch lands, because Paul's not running fetch lands. I was going to say, he could be playing around some kind of untapping with 5 mana and having the ability to play True Name, because Paul doesn't know his list. So playing a True Name with some kind of backup of 2 mana.
Pyroblast!
That's lovely.
Wow. So we were saying how you don't bring in Pyroblast in this matchup, but this is basically...
it's been forced back as well. But still, that's a good Pyroblast.
Like, you generally don't bring in Pyroblast here, but the fact that you bring it in, if you're going to get anything and you hit a true name nemesis, that's exactly what you wanted to hit.
Basically it, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want Pyroblast when they have shamans and a Deathrite shaman that's already swung in for... a Delver that's already swung for 3 and Deathrite shaman, and then they just go, Vial-smasher.
Yep. Or your opponent is on 3 and you're in top deck mode and you top deck the Pyroblast. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, but he's sided it in there. I don't know what he would have sided out. But True Name's actually not bad here, so Simon's in a pretty good spot.
It's a clock. It's going to do work.
And here it is again. The eternal question. Does Burn hit the face or does it hit the shaman? He's got that Rift Bolt on the stack.
Yeah, there's just a single Goblin Guide in the graveyard. I don't know about brainstorming here. I mean, it all depends on, do you have a second True Name Nemesis that could be deployed and you're brainstorming to find it? He could brainstorm, he could find the Angry Goblin and...
Angry Goblin with Force of a backup.
Smashing all the vials. Good. He hates Death and Taxes.
Oh, he hates vials.
Yeah. So if you brainstorm into that guy and you play him now, that's pretty good. I mean, you really need to be able to close the game quickly.
He really does hate vials because you wouldn't want to be vialing in with a smasher, right? You want to be casting him.
You want to cast.
So Vial-smasher doesn't even
combo with vials.
Doesn't like
you don't
vials.
even want to vial a Vial-smasher in.
Don't vial it in.
No, it doesn't work. He doesn't like that. But you could vial in Vial-smasher and then cast your first spell for the turn.
Bang.
And trigger him straight away.
Let's not build this deck.
This is horrible.
But I do want to build Simon's deck after watching him play today.
Oh yeah, and he has brainstormed and he has obviously put a instant sorcery on top of the deck. So this is a reason where you do brainstorm, because in this situation he needs to close the game as quickly as possible, and so brainstorm loses value if you die with it in your hand.
And at this point, now that you've seen the Delver, definitely correct to hit the face. There was a world in which you hit Shaman, but now that you've seen Delver, your clock is actually pretty slim. So hitting the Shaman slows the game down a bit. And there's not that many creatures in the graveyard as well. So Shaman's not doing amazing. And
is he responding to... So activate to gain 2 life, but he responds with the Volcanic Fallout, which kills both Delver and the Deathrite Shaman and deals 2 damage to the face.
And it can't be countered? Does it prevent heal?
But no, he still gains 1.
So he still gains his 2, but it can't be countered. Yeah,
that's just absolutely beautiful.
It's nice. We'll play.
So that's the argument we were saying before. Like, when do you bolt the Deathrite? Here he decided, well, he can wait 2 turns. Wait 2 turns, get an additional land, and then Volcanic Fallout.
I think that's definitely correct as well. When you're running a sweeper like that,
doesn't even
not be bolting Shamans.
That's it. Doesn't even need to play around days because it's uncounterable.
I hope he's not land flooded. 4 lands for burn. You definitely don't want to.
Price of progress. Price of progress for 8 life.
Pretty much got to counter that, don't you?
He'd love to, but he can't and here he's got Deathrite Shaman to gain 2 life.
Bang! Lava Spike. But that Shaman's got the Shaman's
got another Shaman in the graveyard.
But Shaman's not active, is it?
But this Shaman's not active.
Yeah,
because the other one was wrathed away. That's
amazing.
And
if he had a counterspell, he would have countered the price. There we go.
And so this is what we were saying. Price of Progress is the big upgrade over the modern versions into Legacy. That was beautiful. This actually takes Paul to 5-1 on this day, which is fantastic. And I believe, looking at the standings here, it looks like he placed second.
Yeah, we didn't want to spoil it, guys, but Paul had a fantastic tournament. And he ended up placing second, so really, really good result from Burn. And if you're ever thinking about playing budget, of course, our matches are all proxy events. But if you ever want to build into Legacy on paper and come to a real tournament, into state or something like that, then this is a really viable option.
Yeah, especially if you're on a budget list like this or playing proxy, then it just allows you to win lands. We've always got dual lands in our prize pool. I think last tournament there were prizes all the way down to 8th and featuring Savannah, featuring Bayou or something, and
we had Savannah and Tiger today for the prizes today, and Paul went away with the Tiger.
So it's good. It allows you to play
off a $100 burn. I mean, I reckon the Tiger probably cost just as much as
paid for his deck.
It did. I mean,
it's good stuff.
pretty
When
good.
burn runs hot, burn runs hot.
So fantastic,
Good.
guys. Thanks so much for watching. Really, really great tournament this time around. And we've got Highlander coming up next. What's the date for that?
So that one's the second. So that'll be shortly. Once we play our Highlander, we're going to be able to jam some more videos up online.
Well, guys, we're Adelaide Eternal. I'm Beckett Wolfe. That's Sarven McLinton. See you next time.
Thanks for watching.